Okay, welcome to the very unusual late night edition of Jimmy's Simulcast from sunny Boca Raton. Well, not so sunny. It's 9:31 p.m. actually, and I must say that hello. I am now the proud owner of a iPhone 16, but who's counting? Yep. And it works like a charm. Yep. It's a thing of beauty. It's slightly bigger than the 15. It's 0.6 of an inch bigger diagonal. So it's not much, but it makes it a little bit wider and a little bit taller, just so it won't fit your own iPhone 15 or iPhone 14 cases. Gotta get new cases, yeah. But it's good. I mean, it fits good in the hand. I got the Apple, the genuine Apple. There's a little logo in there somewhere. The silicone case that has the charging through the case. I forget what they call that. Branding. It's all branding. Yeah. But it's nice. Yeah. Got one for Marilyn, got one for Jimmy. They're all set up. Everything's working. I turned off the Find My. Yeah, you have to turn off the Find My feature. Or else I'll send you the phone back, because they can't turn it off because they don't have passwords. So you have to turn off Find My iPhone, Find My this, Find My that. That's why they cut it off. Find My iPhone. So you have to make sure you turn that off. And the way you turn that off is, I'll show you on this little guy over here. I'm going to touch the settings, the little gray thing over here in the very corner. Bingo. Remember, you can go to About, and then you can see all your statistics. I didn't get any new iPads. These are old iPads. But they're very handy for giving a little demonstration. So the way you get to Find My is, you see where it says Jimmy up there? You touch that. And then see right here? Find My. You gotta go to press that arrow right there. See? Find My iPad up in that corner. It's on. If I turn it off by touching that green switch on the very top, then you have to put in your Apple ID. And that's it. They don't let you turn it off unless you put your Apple ID. So when you turn it off, I'll do it. See, it says what's your Apple account password? Yeah, we're going to cancel that. See, and then it goes back on again. So you can't turn it off unless you put in your Apple ID password. Now it's the Apple account password. Just so we have the English language properly installed. So you touch Jimmy. You see? You touch this. And then you look right here. In the middle of the screen now. Find My. It's the green doober dabber right there. Icon. And you just press anywhere in there. And it says it's on. And of course it's on. In case someone walks off with my iPad, I can go find them. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what you have to turn off in your iPhone if you get a new iPhone. And you're going to turn it into AT&T or Apple or Verizon, whatever. You got to turn off Find My. Then after you do that, might as well show you the rest of it. Then you go down to the end here. See where it says transfer? It's the very bottom one is shut down. Now, right above that, transfer or reset iPad. So you press that one. And see in the very bottom, erase all content and settings. You press that one. And it goes through and it says, do you want to retain your cellular telephone number? Well, if you're doing your phone, yeah, you want to retain that. Because later on you're going to be asked to bring your telephone number into the new phone. Okay, that's as simple as that. And then it takes about 2 or 3 minutes. Erases everything in the iPhone. You're ready to dust it off and turn it into AT&T or turn it into Apple. Turn it into wherever you're getting credit for the phone. In our case, it's AT&T. You got 2 weeks to send it back. So I got 2 little boxes. And I took pictures of the UPS labels so that I can demonstrate that I delivered them to UPS with their labels. And then I can also find out when they go somewhere in Texas. I forget the city. Someplace in Texas. Yep, central point for the U.S. You know, all these phones, all these boxes show up. And you get all these people opening up the boxes and checking it out and make sure Jimmy's phone is clean. Yeah. Anyway, the phone, is marvelous. The 16 Pro phones, both of them, the Pro and the Pro Max, they both have a new added feature, the 48 megapixel. 48 megapixel. Is that like insane? Whew. I'll show you a picture. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. I took a picture of our big screen TV in the living room. Now I'm going to hit this little eye here. Where is it? Oh, I must have trimmed it. Yeah. Look at that. 5,988 pixels by 3461 for a total of 5.6 megabytes. Now that was a 6. Let's see. It was like a 6 by. It was 8,000 pixels by 6,000. Well, 6 times 8 is 48. I trimmed it. Yeah. And there he is, giving a speech in Wilmington, Delaware, in the afternoon. Yep. And then he does something tonight somewhere. The guy runs around, I'll tell you. It's a lot of work trying to become president. Here's a couple of covers. The Undercover Lover. Pandemic Hypocrite. Unmasked. While you were suffered in quarantine, the city COVID czar went to sex clubs. Oh boy. A little late for that, isn't it? I guess not. Dr. J. Varma shamed New Yorkers. Shamed. Yeah. Shamed New Yorkers to quarantine and force kids to stay home and not in school. And he was secretly going out to late night unmasked raves. Oh, God. Oh, boy. There you go. And there he is, giving a speech to a raucous crowd in Nassau County, inside a stadium. Out on Long Island. There were 16,000 inside the stadium and 15,000 outside the stadium watching him speak to these jumbotrons that he had made up and travels with him all over where he has outdoor venues. 30,000 people show up for this guy to talk. And there's no entertainment. It's not like Bruce Bruce shows up. Springsteen. It's a late night. And I'm drinking Coca-Cola, I swear. Right there. Coca-Cola. And I have the can to prove it. Just in case you think I'm a little wacky. Well, I am a little wacky. But it's not because of the Coke. It's just because I'm a little wacky. Yep, there he goes. September 21, it's Saturday evening at 9:45 p.m. A late night surprise visit to the studio deep inside Royal Palm Plaza's premier residential building. Apparently, South Florida is doing a lot with this. You see the whitewashed stucco exteriors to these buildings to make them look like you're in the Greek Isles or something. And then you have the reflection pools where you can look right over the edge of the pool and it goes right off. And when you're in that reflection pool, you look over that water and it's right into the ocean. You think you're in the ocean. It's very tricky. Now you can see the hedge, but this pool is elevated. So if you're in the water and you're looking right along the edge of that water, it looks right over the tops of those edges. And your eyes then keep going over water that's in the ocean. Very, very cute. Yeah. It's an optical delusion. Yeah. The Euro Summer. Florida's Emerald Coast is the life hack you need to hop you on the Euro Summer trend without a passport. And this is all over the Panhandle. Yep. All the way down to Naples. And around over to Miami. And Fort Lauderdale. Yes. Alright. Today Apple released the public beta for its big iPad OS 18 and the iOS 18, which is for the phone. The iPad OS is for the iPad, and then you got the Mac OS. Now, since they're at 18, I've turned off. We're beta testers for Apple. So when they say the public beta, they're talking about Jimmy and a few of my friends. Yeah. So that means it's not for general release. It still can be a little buggy. A bug here, a bug there. The only bug I've noticed is that my big screen TV doesn't recognize my iPhone anymore because when you do your AirPlay or where whatever you're watching on your phone, it'll show on your screen, on your big screen. Well, it doesn't. It's not an available item on the iPhone anymore, and I assume it has to do with the fact that I still have the iPhone beta. Now, someone will be reporting that to Apple, and if they don't, I will. And since the installation of the stuff that came down from the cloud, iCloud, my backup in the cloud, you don't actually uninstall the beta. It just hangs there until the general release of iPhone 18.1 comes out, and then it'll overwrite the beta version with the version that's open to the general public. So I've turned off all my devices so that they no longer receive beta, because now the new generation of the phones, 16, iPhone 16 has come out with iOS 18.0. It's not 0.1. So that's but everything where everything's faster, the colors are better, the cameras are better. You have 5x optical zoom. Apple is masters at giving you what is known as an incremental increase. in stuff. Faster this and longer that, and it's lighter. It's they got a stronger battery, and the battery lasts a lot longer supposedly. I don't have any testimony in that regard. The battery was I didn't have it plugged in all day. So, and it got this, all day, and my day started at 6:30. I slept an hour late. Usually up at 5:30, but it was a weekend day. Slept till 6:30. Yeah, straight through. Yep. From 11. So that's pretty good. Yeah. So, I'm just looking through these things. There we go. We're talking about, see, iOS 18.1 Beta 3. We got up to Beta 4 or 5. I'm done with betas for a while. Apple is very incremental in adding new features to their phones. People are holding on to their phones a little longer. So instead of turning them in every 2 years, maybe every 2.5, maybe 3 years, the phones are so magnificent. They're so powerful. God. I mean, I was going to say the intellect. The computing power of the iPhone. The iPhone, this iPhone right here. This little guy right here. 6.9-inch diagonal screen. But the processing chip, the A18 is what Apple calls it, the A18 processing chip, has billions of transistors in it. It has it's faster and stronger than most laptops, which is kind of hard to imagine, right? But, here I got a laptop right here. You know where the chips are? Right over in this corner. The chips for the whole MacBook Pro is right over in this little corner. And the rest of it is keyboard and battery. And there are no fans. This is the MacBook Air, which has no air. No air conditioning. There's no fans. The regular MacBook has fans, but the MacBook Air has no fans. So the MacBook Air has no air. It has heat sinks, to keep the processing chips cool. This application I'm running from Ecamm Live, ECAMMlive.com, manages this whole studio right in this MacBook Air. It does all this stuff where I can, where you can see full screen. I can switch from this screen to that screen. I could add my phone screen. I don't have it in the array. I could add it. But I'm not gonna. No. And if I want to change it to full screen here, it's just a little click of a mouse. Remember, this studio is run with 3 of us. Me, myself, and I. Yes, sir, Bob. There's a budget operation here. But it's pretty good stuff. And we're transmitting into 3 social networks simultaneously. I got 1,000 over 1,000 friends on Facebook. And from time to time, they check me out. Who knows? I may have record-keeping results here at 10 o'clock at night. Whereas at 10 o'clock in the morning, everyone says, I don't have time for that character there in Boca Raton. But I'm chock full of all kinds of information, particularly if you have Apple devices. I've been known to teach a class at FAU for the last 20 years. Yeah. The iPhone has a new little trick. See this right here? In the battery charging department of the settings screen with your iPhone, you can click Settings, Battery, Charging, Charge Limit. And then you have a little slider where you can say 80%, 85%, 90%, 95%, or 100%. Just like when you charge your your Tesla, which I happen to have one of those. And I set my, I'm not, this is a secret. Don't tell Tesla. I have mine set for 90%. I think, God darn it. They gave me a car with 300 miles of range. And then they say, don't charge it past 80% unless you have to. Well, they make you feel bad if you go over 80. Well, screw that. So, the difference between 80 and 90, 20% of 300, is a lot of miles. That's 60 miles. So instead of having a 300-mile battery, you've got a 240-mile battery. Well, I bought a 300-mile battery, god darn it. And, so I figured, all right, we'll split the difference. We'll go to 90. So I lose 30 miles in range. So now I have a 270-mile battery instead of a 300-mile battery. That's. Now, if you're going to be, what they mean by that, I'm being a little bit of a wise guy. What they mean by that is, if you're going to go on a trip, fine, charge it to 100%. And then when you get up to, south of Jacksonville, you can go charge it up to 95%. I'm making up a number. You could go to 100, you could go to whatever. I mean, when if you're on like a road trip and you're going to Hotlanta, for example, or you're going to North Carolina, you're going to go up in the mountains to see the leaves turn colors, which Maryland has it in her things to do that sometime in, I think, October, September, no, this late October, November, somewhere in there. She wants to take a drive and see the leaves in the mountains somewhere. So she's researching places in the mountains. Stay for a couple of nights, or a night. Stay here, stay there. And, so if you do that, and you have the address of where you're going, you put that in your navigator. That's what it's called. And it plots the course, on a map, just like Google Maps, except it's Tesla Maps. And you could use Waze Maps. It has the functionality of allowing you to have your screen look like a Waze screen published by Waze. And then it superimposes on that, all the business with your charging. And it shows all your spots. You're charging, up your map as you're driving north, for example. It shows the different, if you stop at this charging thing up here, there's 12 charging bays and there are 6 that are open. It tells you that. And it says, if you want to go to this charging thing, you'll have 37 miles of range left in your battery if you stop at this station. Or if you stop at that station, you'll have 12 miles of range left in your battery. So it tells you how much range you have remaining in your battery by the time you get there, and it tells you how many bays are open or not open in your in the charging spot itself. So it shows all the charging spots right up I-95, for example, or most of the major highways going east or west or north or south. If you're going east or west, all the freeways have even numbers, like Route 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. But if you're going north and south, then all the roads are odd numbers, like I-95. See, 595. That's an odd number. Even numbers, odd numbers. Even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So that's the way the whole country is gridded out. It goes even numbers 0 to 90 from California to New York. And the numbers go from, the top of Florida to the top of whatever, from, Route 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right up through going south to north. Yep. It goes west to east and south to north. Yep. All right. I bet you didn't know that. Or you probably did. Anyway, so I'm charging my phone to 90%. God darn it. And I'm charging my my Tesla to 90%. Well, look at this interesting looking picture of an elbow. Let's get rid of that. Oh, there's another interesting picture of an elbow. I remember when that was clicked off this morning. I took a picture of the sunrise. Oh, I touched this button right here. And this was at 6:47 a.m. I told you, I was up at 6:30 this morning. And I looked out over my back because the window is over that way. And there you go. There's the deep red burn. There's a thunder shower going on right there. Can you believe it? Yes, sir, Bob. That cloud is reaching up 30, 40,000 feet. And you can see the water coming right out of the side of that sucker. I'll tell you what, when it rains, it pours in South Florida. That's why we're in the subtropics. The tip of Florida is in what the meteorologists call the subtropics, as opposed to the tropics, like West Palm Beach, I believe, is in the North Palm Beach is in the tropics, but Boca Raton is in the subtropics. Has to do with where the frost line is, and the number of times it freezes in the subtropics is rarely. In the tropics, it can freeze, a couple of times during the winter. In the subtropics, rarely. Yeah, not never, but rarely. They probably have another word. Let's see. Which picture do we like the best? They look about the same. You see these lights over here. They're not so visible in this one. Yeah, well, that's probably more like what it really looked like. That one right there. Oh. The Untold Truth of Jessica Tarloff. She's the liberal person that sits across from Greg Gutfeld on The Five, the show that's on at 5. It's called The Five. And I'll tell you what, it's amazing. When two people listen to the same news result, and one person translated it this way, and Greg Gutfeld translates it exactly opposite. I mean, it's like, how does this happen? We're listening to the same news. But it does. It surprises me all the time. Trump International Golf Club. This is the site of another assassination attempt on poor old Donald J. Trump. And a guy was camped out in the bushes in a hedge. It's a ficus hedge, by the way. A thick, tall ficus hedge. I had them all around my house when I lived in Old Foresta. And this guy was camped out, found a little nodule, a break in the twigs and the branches, the lower branches of the ficus hedge, which there aren't many lower branches in a ficus hedge. You know, you have to be careful to let the the ficus hedge grow so it fills in. Up top it's really very active when you do your hedge trimming. But down below, the new ones don't come out as often. The new little, branches. So it gets a little thin down low. So this guy just tucked himself in a known little hole where photographers take pictures of, dignitaries or Trump whenever he's rolling around playing golf, which could be any given, Sunday afternoon. He'll go over to his clubhouse there and have a sandwich with whoever he's playing with. And by 12:05, he's on the tee. And he can whack a ball out there, 295 yards. Yeah, he's like a 2 handicap, something like that. And here's this guy camped out they looked at his cell and, the cell pinging and the cell towers. They could see that he was stationary in that little spot. This is post arrest. They got his cell phone and they looked at it. And they could see he was there for 12 hours. He had little snacks in his backpack. Oh, God. And you think, the Secret Service people would be, walking the perimeter of the golf club, at least every 12 hours, right? With a dog or riding around with a golf cart, around the exterior just to make sure everything looks okay from the outside of the hedge line. Because they got hedges all the way around this thing. Nope. No. The exterior, the perimeter was inside the hedges, not outside the hedges, which makes no sense, really. With the hope that that people that are riding around in front of the president, that are looking out, left and right as they're riding slowly in their golf cart, and they happen to spot the barrel of the rifle sticking out through the chain link fence. I mean, the chances of that are slim and none. But they saw it. And as soon as they saw it, they shot at it. They figured, I'm not waiting for him to shoot. We're going to just start shooting at it. And they did, and the guy ran off. He ran off, left his rifle and backpacks and everything. He hauled ass out of there, got in his vehicle, and drove off. And if it wasn't for a very smart lady who whipped out her trusty iPhone and took pictures of the vehicle, the guy, and the license tag, and sent all three to Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, who then, put a all points bulletin on it with that information. I mean, it had a picture of the guy, a picture of the vehicle, and a close-up of the license tag. So he was screwed. If she wasn't there, he'd have driven off. They wouldn't have known what the hell kind of vehicle he was driving in. It would have been a mess. He'd have driven away and hit himself somewhere in North Carolina. God knows if they'd have caught him. But there's this guy camped out in the ficus hedge for 12 hours. Terrible. Yeah. Oh my God. Diddy. He's in big trouble for trafficking and women and boys and oh, what a mess. Well, 2 separate judges said, you ain't going anywhere. There's no bail for people like you. So he's in he's in a Manhattan federal prison. It's not a good one. The last guy that was in that prison, it was dealing in trafficking and young girls and all that kind of stuff. Epstein, he magically decided to hang himself. I think he had some help. Where people hung him to make it look like he hung himself. And it just so happens that 3 of the cameras that were on that cell were malfunctioning at the same time. How convenient. Well, Diddy now he's sleeping with one eye open. Oh boy. Jeez. I bet you didn't know this was. There's a California-based company called Spin Launch. Spin, like spinning around, launch. Now you see this thing? You see that black thing? That looks like a paintbrush? That rotates around. Excuse me. At 5,000 miles an hour. I mean, it starts off slow. It's going to spin, counterclockwise. And then you see this opening thing. It's like a chute tube that comes off the edge of that centrifuge. Now, this is huge. I mean, this is like, I think like 300 feet across. So it's big. It's very big. And in the end of this thing that rotates, and there's a specific weight to this from the center to there, including whatever dice they're literally gonna throw something into orbit. No rocket engines. It's just this thing is going to swing this thing around until it gets up to about 5,000 miles an hour. And then right at this point right here, if you can see my finger, it releases. And trap doors open at a very precise second, tenth of millionth of a second beforehand. And the doors open, whoosh, and that thing flies out into through the atmosphere at 5,000 miles an hour, and goes right into orbit without any propulsion rocket engines. That's what spin launch is all about. So I clipped this story. Satellites are sent into space using a giant rotating arm to fling satellites into low Earth orbit with no rocket fuels, no oxidizers. Just sling it right up into 600-mile orbit, which that's pretty high up. A lot of Elon Musk's satellites are not 600 miles up. But it's, this is quite a piece of science here. And they've been testing this for the last year. And it works. That's the Navy's new subs are apparently very expensive. About $16 billion. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's a big number. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's just got elected to his third term in office. And he's chatting with Trump about the Ukraine. Trump is like 1,000 legs. He's everywhere. He goes to this, he goes to that. He talks to people, tries to plan what needs to be done. All right, here's a little story about Nate Silver. Just as a reminder, Nate Silver created a website called 538. You spell it out. FIBE 38. Spell it out. .com. And he created a model and a method of absorbing these poles. You got poles here and poles there. I got a pole, you got a pole. Well, my pole says this. Well, there's hundreds of them. There are thousands of them. Every week there's another, hundreds and hundreds of poles. Well, he has a model that goes across the United States that handicaps these poles, for use of another word, but let's just say handicaps them, like a horse race. And some poles have more influence than other poles. Some pole, why would that be? Well, certain pole might have dialed up 2,000 people and got a hold of 1,500. Because remember, everyone doesn't answer the phone. Or some people answer the phone and said, sorry, not interested, and hang it up. That'd be me. I don't even have a landline anymore. And if you called me on my cell phone, and you're not in my phone book, it goes to voicemail automatically. If I don't know who's calling me, I don't answer it, which gets a little tricky, with doctor appointments. If they call you from the office and they pick up some line that's not in the rotation of whatever the doctor's office's main number is, that call goes to voicemail, and then I got to call them back. Anyway, a lot of these polls, or all these polls, had people that don't answer the phone because of the caller ID, and if the polling company has blocked, the information, then the recipient of the call can block them, and don't answer them, whatever. Yep. Anyway, so there's, 20 or 30% of the people they dial don't answer the phone or hang up on them and never get a chance to get their polling information. And 75% of the people, take the call, go through the Q&A, and give the poll people, and they check it off, three and bind it. It's all very well planned. And where they call, the geographic locations is scientifically, you would think, scientifically determined, so that it gets a good sampling of a certain geography, whatever that happens to be. If you're doing a national poll, you got to take a little piece out of all over the country. Well, that scientific method of determining, which counties to call of the 3,000. I think there are 3,100 counties. If you add them all up, there's 67 counties in Florida. Well, there are more than 3,000 counties in the whole country, and they on a national poll, they take a few calls from. They make a few calls, and some statistical sampling of the 3,100 counties that are in the United States, and they decide, where the weighting is. Weighting, like this county gets 4 calls, that county only gets 1 call because of the population density and all that. I mean, it's quite a science, this polling business, and it can be not so accurate depending on how you determine that. And Nate Silver is a professional at determining those kinds of things, and he has this model that these polls are all, there's a lot of polling data, and it goes into his statistical model, which runs 20, 30, 40,000 iterations when it's sampling all this data, and he comes up with overall handicapping on who looks, pollsters call it forecasting. I'm using the wrong vocabulary words. So the real trick is the polling for, here's one of the results of, 1 week's worth of Nate Silver's 2024 electoral college probability. And this period ending September 9th, so that's a couple of weeks ago, with all the iterations of everything that he did, there was a 64% likelihood that Trump will get the electoral count high enough to 270 to win. And there's a 64.4% chance of that as of September 9th. This is the Silver Bulletin. So every week or so, and it's probably every week from now on, he throws this information out there. Nate Silver, presidential model. Yep. So that's why how would a shift in the polls change the race? So you can see if Trump is up one from the current polls, you know, his likelihood of winning the race goes up to 56%. If he's up 2, it goes to 63. If he's up 3 points, it's 71% chance that he's going to win. Anyway, so this is a table of information that Nate Silver throws out there. So here's a way that there's another graphic of information this particular week. I don't have a date on this one, but he shows see here it says oops 40,000 simulations. Throws all this polling data in there, and he determines, you know, the electoral college, particularly in the swing states. And this particular period, Trump was being favored. I understand those numbers have gotten tighter. Anyway, that's the 64. This week it was 63.8. Yeah. And this one is 64.4. And my son picked up a nut from a big tall palm tree, and he's growing it in a pot. And he's got 4 of them. They all have roots coming out of the bottom of them, but only one has got the stalk sticking up at this point. So he's decided to have a little bit of a green thumb. He comes in here, and it's like a little forest in our little portion of our living room near the windows. I got some money trees there. And here, this is if you've got nothing to do, and you have the ability to look up Gutfeld's show, which is on at 10 o'clock on weekday nights. I don't know if he's on now or not. No, he's not. Jimmy Fallon, the cab driver that's got his own show. It's cute. Can you imagine? He's a cab driver in Manhattan, and he was driving around some people from Fox, and they started talking, and says, "Come on in here." So they brought him in and cleaned him up. Being facetious. And had him as a guest on several shows. And someone decided, hey, it's summertime, let's give this guy a spot, 10 o'clock on Saturday night. And he's got his own dough. He's on right there. I have him, it's a delayed broadcast, but it shows Fela. He's got some guests on there, and they're all talking up, whatever they're talking about. Anyway, Gutfeld had Trump. And, look at it. Trump survives second assassination attempt. So there's Gutfeld over there. And guess who's there? El Presidente, 45. Yeah. There's a wider view. 2 ladies on there also. Tyrus and Trump. Tyrus had to move over one spot because they wanted Trump, I guess, more centrally located in the on that stage setting, on the set, as they say. So it's very interesting. You know, he's he can be a likable fellow. So if you want to see the other side of Trump, instead of him barking out in a rally, or the intensity in a debate. That wasn't a debate. There was two people talking to news people. Anyway, Gutfeld. Look up that show. Do I know what... It was a couple of nights ago. Yeah. I watched it twice. I watched it when it broadcast, and I watched it the second time. You can see it right on... you can Google it. Yep. It's very nice. Okay, now there's some... I wonder why I got that picture there. That is the inside of a Model Y. And they're talking about the software. And Tesla has changed the language, that the paragraphs of language that they have associated with defining the software, the self-driving software. So a self-driving software, full self-driving software supervised in brackets. And they don't have a lot of, they had like two or three paragraphs of stuff, defining what that meant. Well, they've stripped it all away. So it's only a couple of sentences. It's still, it still makes sense, but they don't have all this extra stuff in there, which I guess entraps them into maybe having to deliver something that's not deliverable currently. Oops. Yep. There you go. Let's get out of that. I'm just trying to zoom in to the panel that I look at when you drive a Tesla. And over on the left side, you see an expanded view of the street and the left-hand turn that you're about to embark on. And then on the right side of this panel is, all the streets and traffic lights. And somewhere in this, oh, here it is. There's a little white triangle right there. That's your car. That's that white car over there. So this is on a map, and this is, a close-in illustration of the turn that you're in the middle of. And the dotted line tells you where to continue. If you let go of the steering wheel, it'll do it. Yeah, it will do it. Yeah, on what Tesla calls autopilot, and what they also call full self-driving. Now this is some metrics. You don't want to go. There's some metrics on, this particular car, and the number of city miles that's driven, the total miles that's driven, the number of times that it DE is disengage. So of the 5,255 miles that this person drove, 22 times the autopilot disengaged for some reason or other. It doesn't tell you who disengaged it. It's either the system disengaged you, or you didn't like the way it was making a turn, or it was going a little bit too fast in the turn, so you took control of that steering wheel, tightened up your hands, and did it your way instead of the way it wanted to do it. So that would be a disengagement. That'd be one of the 22 times. And I'm famous for that because a couple months ago, the system was a little too aggressive for me. I drive a little, I mean, I don't drive like a little old lady, but I drive a little softer, a little more chill, as they say. So I would have had 22 engagements with 5,255 miles of driving in the city miles. Yep. So that's what this panel is all about. So they're, Tesla is talking about, the billions of miles that the Tesla cars, because all these Tesla cars report in to Fremont, California, with their statistical data, every day, every night, showing off the more important pieces of your driving experience. And that data gets put into big servers in Fremont, California, because every car has its own private cell system, not that a driver can use. It's strictly Tesla system. It's AT&T, they pay AT&T to have the cell system active in every one of their cars, whether they're owned, leased, or whatever, and you got to sign an agreement saying you're okay with that. So forget privacy and all that crap. If you're going to drive a Tesla, everything about where you go and when you go, how fast you go, and your turns, and your this, and your that, and your stops, and everything goes to Fremont. And if you don't like it, then drive a Chevy. It's about that simple. You can't own the car, or you can't lease the car, unless you sign an authorization allowing them to have this data. Speed, time, place, whatever. Yeah, that's why, you read about it in the story. It's like airplanes. There are 10,000 of them that take off and land every day, but they only have pictures of the ones that crash and burn. Well, the same thing with Teslas. There are billions of miles that Tesla cars are driving all over the world. And the only thing you hear about is when they run into a tree, or run into opposing traffic, or run into a tractor trailer that's cutting across the street. And there's a famous case where a Tesla car ran right at a tractor trailer that was, this Tesla driver T-boned a tractor trailer, a white one. And he was apparently watching a movie on his laptop instead of watching the road. And he was driving at 85 miles an hour. And whoop! Yeah. It killed him big time. So, it's, in a couple of days, Tesla, replied back to the Department of Transportation of Florida. Happened in Florida, northern part of Florida. And as it turns out, the guy did not have his hands on the wheel, didn't have his feet on the pedals, because remember, all the information goes back to Tesla. every minute of every mile, including the crashes. And that data is used by the insurance companies to determine, fault. And in this case, the driver of the Tesla crashed into the semi-tractor trailer and was not under proper control of the car because he was watching, a movie. And they found the laptop open, at the crash site. I don't know if the movie was still playing, but, and the driver, dead as a doornail, because he wasn't paying attention to the road. No, he would just take a look every once in a while in front of him, but, he had it on autopilot and figured, screw it, I'm not going to follow instructions, and I'm going to do it my way. Well, that was the end of him. And the Tesla data proved it was his fault because of the information that the Tesla car transmitted back to Fremont. And they recovered that information, due to the investigation. Yep. Well, there's been 4 or 5 Teslas that have crashed, in recent years. And sometimes it's the driver's fault, and sometimes I don't know if there's been the car's fault. I think the vehicle is pretty steady Eddie. And in most cases, where it seems like it's the car's fault, it's not. But I don't know that for a fact. But you see this picture of an explosion right here? This is the Ukrainian drones flew in 300 miles inside of Russia and blew up 2,000 tons of Russian ammunition. That's 4 million pounds. There's 2,000 pounds in a ton, and 2,000 tons. That's 4 million pounds of ammunition. It is a very spectacular lighting of the sky right there. And people got showered down with a bunch of bullets. Because what goes up comes down. And that was a big blow up. Yep. "2,000 miles from the front lines. 300 miles inside the Russian, Ukrainian, inside of Russia." Yep. There's a bigger picture of it. Bam! Can you imagine? That would be a earthquake kind of sensation with that. Here's, it just so happens, this is a huge sinkhole in Florida. And it gobbled up this guy's half of his driveway and half of the street in a big sinkhole that, if I were to guess, is probably 100 feet in diameter. Yeah. So that guy's got a problem with his house. That's my last picture. When you buy stuff in, I used to finance office buildings and shopping centers when I was in the banking business, which I'm not. I consult clients about banking now. I don't actually work in a bank anymore. I could, but I don't. And what you would be required to do is, if you had a home mortgage loan, if you borrowed money from a bank, or Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, any of those kind of things, or bank loans directly, you're required to get sinkhole insurance. Now, you wouldn't get that down here in Boca Raton, but if you were in the Orlando area, south and the whole western, you take Orlando and go, almost all the way over to the west coast. Got to get sinkhole insurance. You have to, because there's sinkholes all over the place, and you can't tell whether you're going to be in one of those or not. I remember I did an office building in the northwestern Altamont Springs. It's the northwest quadrant of the Orlando SMSA, Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area, SMSA. So the Orlando SMSA. You draw a 12-mile circle around the middle of Orlando, and Altamont Springs is in that circle, in the northwest quadrant of it. And this very good customer, headquartered in New York City, the largest contractor in the United States, actually, the largest contractor in the United States, giving you some hints. Through one of their affiliates, solely owned affiliate, they're developing a 7-8 story, I forget the number of stories, I'm going to say 8-story office building. It's a 12,000, no, let's say 100,000 square foot office building on 9 or 10 floors. It was about 12,000 square feet per floor, 9 stories up, 8 times 12 is 96, so that's about the geometry of that. And in the corner, so we had the a 4-acre site, and this building was going to sit on it. You have, parking, on the parking lot. Not structured parking underneath the building, but, site parking, street parking, parking lot parking. So the building would take 3/4 of an acre, and the other 4 acres was parking lot, and trees and islands and green area and all that stuff. Well, in the very corner of that site, there was it looked like a depression that could be, I'm looking at the site diagrams, and I'm looking at an aerial photograph, and I'm seeing in that northwest piece, it looked like there was a depression just in the corner of this, this site. So I call up the guy, and Richard, his name was Richard, Dick. So I called Dick on the phone. I know his last name, but I'm not going to say it on the air. Last name was an L. Richard L. So, I did 4 or 5 projects for him, so I got to know him. Plus, he's the largest contractor in the United States, so he's like an important customer. And Southeast Bank loved to deal with important customers. Yeah, they had an aversion for people that could break that nut. I also dealt with Edward J. DeBarlo. How about that? The largest mall developer. Anyway, so I knew Southeast liked largest this and largest that. Well, I got to know Mr. DeBarlo. Very nice gentleman. Yeah. Anyway, he's a doer like Trump. Get it done. No baloney. You don't get it done, get out of here. You don't get it done, get out of my way. and DeBarlo was not a big guy. He was, 5'7", 140 pounds. Trump's a bigger guy, 6'2", and 220 pounds. That's a guess. Anyway, I noticed this depression in the northwest quadrant of the site. Crap. I called Richard on the phone. I said, Richard, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but I'm looking at the topology images that I'm looking at. Everyone gets so much information on these things that's going on. But, when you're trying to protect the customer and protect the assets of the bank, you gotta, you do your homework and you look at topology and you look at all this stuff. And he says, yeah, I see those circles over there in that corner. And sure as hell, it started to sinkhole even more. Right when they started, they're using bulldozers and leveling off the site and rolling out gravel and all this stuff. And this is like in the grass area on the edge of the site. Well, it started to collapse, in that funnel-shaped depression. And this is a bigger version of that. Yeah, it's 100 foot. I was looking at a 3-footer. But 3 foot can be 30 feet, and all of a sudden you got cars in the parking lot, going down into this hole, which goes to God knows where. Anyway, so I called Richard up on the phone. I said, I think we have Houston. I think we have a problem. Yes, sir, Bob. So he went out there. And I said, I think we need remediation. That's the fancy word they use. We need to remediate this site. That's a nasty word. The developer does not want to hear about remediation. No. Remediation means perspiration. Oh God. So they came up with this plan where they were going to pump in. No, it was like a triangle, it was like a funnel-shaped depression, but it wasn't moving. It was stationary. So I figured, okay, let's drill a hole in that. A boring, like 14 inches in diameter, and let's put pressure concrete. We'll get this big pressure concrete machine. We'll get these concrete trucks. And they pumped in, 100 cubic yards of concrete under pressure. Pushed it in this hole. And I think, after about 20 trucks of cement, they apparently filled that sucker up so that it wouldn't depress. And then they filled it in with, grit, sand, rocks, and rolled it out and paved over it, or landscaped over it, whatever. I forget how far into the whole site plan. I think at one point they figured, well, they'll lose 8 or 10 parking places. They'll pick it up, somewhere else. So there were like 8 or 10 parking places that were questionable, as I remember. Yeah. So they paved over it and put the 10 parking places on there, and they figured, we'll have to buy some sinkhole insurance. So in case somebody parks over in that corner, and their car disappears, we've got insurance to cover the car and, any human damage, if any, hopefully not. Yeah, oh God. Whew. It's a big deal over there. you know, in the western half of Orlando. And it goes south, you know, you go even down to Disneyland, all that. Lake Worth. Oh, God. Yeah. Sinkhole. Big problem. Not so much big ones like this, but, you know, one's about 25% that big. You know, so instead of 100 feet across, they may be 20 feet across. 20-foot diameter. Well, 20 foot can, you know, that can take a car down. You know, a car is 22 feet long. You know, your average Cadillac, 22 feet. Yeah. That's why you need a 24-foot garage if you own a Cadillac, or the older Cadillacs. When I was a kid, the Cadillacs, they were like land yachts, you know. All right. It's 10:57. It's almost 11. I've been yakking here for 1 hour and 26 minutes on my surprise Saturday evening chat. Marilyn is not feeling well. She's in bed. I'm sitting here, you know, reading everything I can get my hands on. And I thought I'd share a few of these stories with you. And you learned a little bit about sinkholes today. It's there. And I went to the New York Post and got you some of their covers. Trump tells a raucous Nassau County crowd. I think he had his thing on Friday. What is this? This is Thursday. Yeah, so this is Thursday. He had his what do you call it? Rally in Long Island, Nassau County, which is where I grew up in Nassau County. I wasn't born there. I was born in right near where Trump was born, in Mary Immaculate Hospital, and yeah, Brooklyn, Jamaica, Queens. You know, Mary Immaculate Hospital. Yep, that's who signed my birth certificate. Yep, I found my driver's license, my New York State driver's license. There it is, right here. Can you believe it? You can't probably see it. It's a, yep. It's in a bag. I'm one of these crazy guys that remembers numbers. God knows why, but I can tell you the driver's license number on this license. Why would you want to know that? Who the heck knows? But I know the number. I don't have to look at it. It's on the very top here. WO 9450-21221-692290. That's the number. Yep. I can prove it. Oh, these little bags are they're so yeah, this is 1968. Yep, expires June 30, 1971. And it's stamped June 10th, 1968 by, you know, some motor vehicle department. The big stamp they stamped. They peeled off something and gave it to me and said, "Okay, James, keep it between the lines." Yeah. Blonde hair, blue eyes, male, 5'6". I grew an inch apparently. I was 5'8". Yeah, now. Yep. So at that time, yeah, so 1971. Wow. I'm a young little whippersnapper. 25, 55, 65. Yeah. I'm like 17 years old. God. Yep. I Found my driver's license in 1968. Ooh, that's getting a long time ago. Yeah, it's in good shape. Laminated, of course. Yes, sir. Maybe laminated. That's like that. It's a little warm. I wonder what's going on in there. Okay. It's 11. Say goodnight. Okay. So I'm going to turn up, Epidemic sound, instrumental, royalty-free music that I have found. It's my background music, right? You know it well. I have it on all my broadcasts. Yeah. Epidemic sound, instrumental. It's on, YouTube Music. That's the only place I could find it. It just so happens I'm a commercial customer of YouTube because, remember, this is a Simulcast. It's broadcasted on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live. Twitter Live. My handle is the @ FAU4U. FAU for that university I've been on the faculty of for over 20 years. FAU, the number 4, and then the letter U. FAU4U. That's my handle. Yep, except for Twitter, because I got locked out of my Twitter account for some unknown reason. I wrote them emails and they will not answer me. I guess they just have too much going on over there, and wherever they are in cyber world. But I did something wrong, apparently, or someone thought I did something wrong. I don't know. I'm just a little guy up here in Boca Raton, and so my FAU4U handle in Twitter is buried in a suspended account, and I can't unhook it. So I had to create another account, Jim W 5596. That's capital J and a capital W. Jim W, capital J, small m, capital W, 5596. And put an @ sign in front of that, and that's my handle on Twitter, or W, or X, whatever the hell it's called. Elon. Come on, Elon. How do you call something X? Is there a Y and a Z? Twitter. Just leave it Twitter. Oh well. So, this is a simulcast of all three of those. For an hour and 33 minutes, they're holding in there live. Yep. So, thank you to Comcast Xfinity for giving me enough bandwidth going up, because I'm throwing out 900 kilobits a second because of my... Now this video is high definition TV, by the way. I double click on that, you see that's a whole... There you go. New York Post, Late City Final Edition. But since we're still... It's still Saturday and it's still the 21st. So I put that in the beginning and I put that at the end, if I can think about it. The music is on full blast. And I'm going to terminate this and talk to you maybe tomorrow. If Marilyn isn't feeling well, I'll come back on here tomorrow. Tomorrow night, probably. If not, it'll be Monday morning. So, have a nice evening.